What's up, everybody? This is Gina Ifowe, the one and only African superstar. Happy weekend. Today, I want to hit you with a live stream, which is only dummies don't understand self-preservation. Um, the other day, I was watching a documentary on YouTube about interracial dating, actually in the UK, and there was a Nigerian man who married a white lady, and talking about his experience and had his children in the documentary, his mixed race children. And naturally, a lot of people that engage in those kind of relationships, they have a certain kind of cavalier attitude. They're really like laissez-faire. They don't really care about perhaps their people or the world at large. Their attitude is kind of like, well, what I do isn't really gonna offset everything. I'm just one person and blah blah blah, this kind of mentality. And I want to talk about this because I realized it actually dawned on me that only dummies don't understand self-preservation. You see, it's not a coincidence that very confident people, very intelligent people, very intellectual people understand the concept of self-preservation. And it's not a shock that the people that are the inverse of all those qualities don't understand. Because, when I watched the documentary and I saw this Nigerian man, very handsome man, obviously he was well educated, a high value man and blah, blah, blah. And I looked at him and I thought to myself, like, look at the next generation of the children that you're raising. That is the future of, for instance, your lineage. It's all fun and games until you're wiped out. And I've also noticed over the years that people get really offended by the survival of the fittest mentality. There are certain people that get very offended by that whole concept, but it's true. It's still true, whether or not you want to accept it. People that are going to survive are going to survive. And people who are not will not. And that's just the truth. When a natural disaster comes, we hear those survivor stories. We hear those survivor stories of, I was trapped in a basement, for two weeks, 10 days. There's even people that were lost at sea for months at a time. Survival of the fittest is real. Only dummies don't understand self-preservation. What is self-preservation? Preserving oneself, preserving one's people, preserving one's culture, one's language, one way of life. Okay? We suck at this. A lot of people suck at this, but I realized I correlated directly with low self-esteem, ignorance, and a disconnect from reality. Because there is no such thing as diversity. There is no such thing as inclusion. Okay? What there is up and down, black and white, in and out, yes, top and bottom. It's very, very simple. If you are confident in yourself and you love your people and you want to see them exist and thrive in the future, you have to contribute to that. Hello. You have to be an active part of that process, because where exactly is the next generation going to come from if you're not contributing? Where exactly are the ideas that you want to see from your peers and your young people? If they're not being cultivated, where will they come from? Is it magic? Are we magically going to be woke and conscious in the future when we're not making any strategic moves to make that happen, to make that a reality? Some of y'all got doctorates and masters. Some of you guys are even business owners, and you don't understand this concept here. You think it doesn't matter? You think, well, I'm just one person, and what the next person doesn't. Guess what? Survival of the fittest. You're not fit. You won't survive. There's a reason why historically prominent people, royalty, leaders, wealthy people have been very strategic in the unions that they engage in. Okay, you're not going to see, for instance, the Princess of Dubai hooking up with an Atlanta rapper. Her daddy, the king, the sultan, or whoever he is, he's not going to tolerate that. Okay, you're not going to see the daughter of the Chinese president, okay, hooking up with a Japanese man or an American man or a British or a Russian. You see, it's been strategic. Why? Because of self-preservation. That's why in most cultures around the world, because see, we get it twisted, okay? Because the the propaganda of the West is just so widespread. We get it twisted thinking that the Western way is the way, and it's not. The Western way is actually a minority, because most cultures around the world, from Asia to Africa to South America, all practice what I'm talking about. But we ourselves, as Black people in the diaspora, even many on the continent, don't understand self-preservation. We would actually take our last and give it to someone else. We would actually open our arms up and invite these people into our lands. We don't even seek reciprocal deals. We don't even seek reciprocal treatment. And I hate to say it, guys, but I was just having this thought today. Like I said, it was kind of prompted by a documentary about interracial relationships. Many are not fit. Okay, and they won't survive. 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, you and your family line be totally wiped out. What is wrong with preserving what you have going on? What is wrong with instilling in your family, hey, the affairs of our family and our people come first? Be self-sufficient. You can be cordial. You can interact with other people, but don't take it too far, because guess what? Self-preservation. I would say, after I lived in the UK, I saw many cultures that live there. Obviously, it's a diverse place. Some parts of the UK is very diverse. And you see that the Indians understand what I'm talking about. The Chinese understand what I'm talking about. They teach their children the native languages. The Muslim community. These are people that will, when faced with that question about whose culture are they going to perpetuate in their homes, they will choose their indigenous, culture over the Western culture. And then at the same time, the people that live in the West will look at these communities and say, well, they're tight knit. They support each other's business. They do this, they do that. But we don't want to do what they do. We don't want to speak it out. We don't want to be exclusive. We don't want to have these conversations. I'm just telling you and anybody who finds this video, all right? If you don't understand self-preservation, you're a dummy. It's you or them. That's it. If you choose to integrate, say bye-bye to your lineage. Say bye-bye. As you know it, as you grew up with it, say bye-bye, because you are integrating and diluting your lineage for the future. That's what it is. And this is not a strange concept. This is actually a concept, like I said, that you can align with the majority of the world because the West is not the world. And also, you can even parallel this to nature. Okay, first trivia question. Big shout outs to the family. Make sure you like the stream, guys. Make sure you like the stream. First trivia question, guys, to those of you watching me today. Okay, this is a nature related question. All right, so today I'm talking about survival of the fittest, which is a concept that the superior people, the superior species, or whatever will survive, and the unfit, the weak, those that can't adapt will not. And actually, this concept is so offensive to some people, and it's because they know that they're weak, and they know that they don't have what it takes, and they know that they wouldn't exert what it takes to survive. So they just want to take the bottom layer, easy street, and pretend that this is not a concept, but it is. All right. So the first trivia question is, what happens to animals outside of their indigenous homeland? Okay, that's the first question. Okay, this is a two-part question. Okay, this is a two-part question. What happens to animals outside their homeland? So you see some people go and they like to get exotic animals. They get animals from Russia, and they get animals from Africa, and they get animals from China and all that stuff, and they bring them to other places, which is not their homeland. What happens to the animals outside of their homeland? Let's get some feedback from the chat room. What's up, family? Big shout outs to the customers at africansuperstar.com. Big shout outs to members only. I will start shout outs right now. Okay, so please do answer. The first trivia question is a part 2. The first question is, what happens to animals outside of their indigenous homeland? All right, so big shout outs. I'm gonna go ahead and start shout outs, and then I'm gonna give y'all some time to answer the question. Oh, part 1. Tito District, big shout outs to you, brother. I see you there. Thank you so much. He says a lot of these people are breeding themselves out of existence. Exactly. Like I said, when I watched the documentary, I saw this, beautiful Nigerian man, amazing features, handsome, tall, dark skin, sitting there with his mixed race children that if you weren't watching documentary, you would never even know they were his kids. Very little resemblance. It only really physically takes a generation or two for your physical attributes to be completely wiped out. Now me and probably a lot of you guys actually look like our family members. I'm basically virtually a twin to my mom. My little sister's a twin to me. She's light skinned, but we look just alike. You can see the heritage in our family lines. This gentleman that was on the documentary, I wouldn't have been able to know those were his children had he not said, because I didn't look anything like him. Big shout outs to you guys. What's up to Mind, Body, and Soul TV, one of our members only. I see you there, sweetheart. Big shout out. She's shouting out our mission statement, SMP. Guys, the first trivia question, I'm doing shout outs, and then I'm getting to the first trivia question, part 1, which is what happens to animals outside of their indigenous homeland? Okay, because we're talking about self-preservation. I be on self-preservation because I love me, I love my people, and I want to see us in the future. Hello. So everything that I do, every step that I take, okay, strategically, is to embody that and to create that in the future. Okay, you cannot do certain things and then have that message. It is a oxymoron. Okay, an oxymoron is when you say one thing but you do another. Okay, or a contradiction. All right, big shout outs to you guys today. Tito says sometimes it seems as if the more successful our people are, the more they go out of their way to date and marry out. And like I said, self-preservation. You would think that a confident, self-aware person would say, "Wow, I've made it. Wow, I'm successful now. I want to share this with my community. I want to share this with a Black man or a Black woman. I want to do something to, help uplift my homeland and give opportunities to other people that once was where I was." But no. Instead, They're bleeding themselves out. And guess what? They're not going to survive. Survival of the fittest. Okay? The more you begin to dilute yourself and the more you isolate yourself, you are weak. You are strong. You don't have any allies. And that's exactly how a lot of these people are. And we see them get hung out to dry every time. Okay? You know, there's a little concept, divide and conquer, which means as we can segment people off and, you know, reduce certain communities and stuff, then they become more vulnerable. They become more weak. You know, the more collective they are, the more in tune they are, the more like-minded they are, the more dangerous they are, because they're going to function as a unit and they're going to be strong. You know, Black men complain about not being respected. I think it would be pretty hard for them not to be respected if they were gathering themselves together and moving as a unified force. But they don't. So guess what? They're weak. When those police officers gunned one of the brothers down in America in the street, they know there's not going to be no recourse for that. But strategically, they're not killing uh, uh you know, Chinese people at the same proportion. They're not killing white men at the same proportion. They sure as hell ain't killing no Jews. Huh? There's no Indian men, not white women. They're targeting our people. Why? Because they feel that we're weak. They know we're weak. They know there's no response. They know that there's no consequences for their behavior. It's easy to pick you off. Big shout out to family. I'm doing trying to get through these shout outs. Yeah, I did see that. Tito's talking about that coup that just happened in Guinea. And the coup leader is married to a French woman. Now, obviously, this guy wanted to take over the country because he felt the leadership wasn't sound. He felt like it wasn't in the best interest of the future of Africa. But then that's also his example. That is a great, you know, example of an oxymoron. It's like if I were to go out and get with a non-Black man, when I talk about Black love, when I talk about the continent, when I talk about community, it is a contradiction to the whole thing. People are going to struggle to take this man seriously. You know, if he is Pan-African or whatever, it will be hard to tell. Big shot at Superstar Bella is there. She says, if we talk about self-preservation, people mind trick you and call it reverse racism. There's no such thing as reverse facts. Self-preservation, there's no synonyms for it. It is what it is. Okay. And if you don't understand self-preservation, this video, I'm sorry to insult you, but you're a dummy. Because it's very, very clear to see, and other people understand it, and that's why they operate the way that they do. You know, Black people complain every time something happens. You know, recently they've been complaining about how the Haitian immigrants are being treated, and they get complain about this and complain about that. Guess what? They don't like y'all. You need to be worried about your own self and your own people and stop begging them for whatever. Develop a new strategy. Be quiet about your goals. Gather some resources and make something happen. Period. Self-preservation. Do you have what it takes to make it? Big shout outs. SWT Barry 32 says that's exactly what her stepmother's family looks like. Totally diluted. You wouldn't be able. Let me see. I think this was right. I think this was a point about how they were diluted. You know. So you have family members that don't even look like each other because of the integration. And that is diluting your family lines. I mean, you may not like it, but that's just what it is. Big shout outs to the family. All right. Tiger is in the building. I see you there. Okay, so now we're getting to the trivia question answer. All right. So Superstar Bella answered first. What happens to animals outside of their indigenous homeland? Bella says the animals get sick. Tito says they can get sick and isolated. Big shout out to Gregory X. Mind, Body, and Soul says they don't last as long. So they don't have a long lifestyle, a long lifetime. What's up, family? What's up, True Africans? Stand up. I see you there, family. Happy Companion. Thank you so much for stopping by, brother. I see you there. What's up, Kira Rants? Crimson is in the building. Queenery. Okay, so that was the first part of the trivia question. The first trivia question we had some people answer, which is what happens to animals outside of their indigenous homeland. There's a lot of consequences. Okay, first of all, the climate is different. So imagine you take an animal from like a tropical place, Africans, and put them into a an environment with very harsh conditions. Okay, Canada, UK, America. You're talking about people that are from the soil, going into places, very harsh conditions, very harsh weather. Okay, they get sick. Absolutely. They get isolated. Very true. On the continent, there is an abundance of Black people. Okay, an abundance. Millions and billions of Black people. Okay, in the West, you see them reduced in numbers. Okay, a lot of that doesn't necessarily have to do with the fact that we're not reproducing. A lot of that has to do with a lot of the external factors that's impacting the lifestyles and longevity of our people. Gun violence, penitentiary, homosexualism, interracialism, police brutality. You see, these things are reducing our lifetime. Okay? Okay? There's a lot of consequences, for instance, when animals are removed from their indigenous homeland. Sometimes they can't adapt to, for instance, a life in captivity. They're used to going out and hunting for their food, and they're used to having freedom. Some people psychologically begin to deteriorate, and we see that happening a lot with our people. We're not animals, but we can parallel a lot of things that are going on in the lives of Black people residing in the West to what happens when you're removed from your homeland. For instance, the Black Americans, they have been estranged from their homeland. So you're talking about perpetual trauma, as a lot of people like to call it. It all started from the fact that they were removed from their homeland. The second part to my question is, rather it's more of a statement. When you analyze animals and species in the wild, okay, if they don't mate with their own, they become, this is the second trivia question, okay? What happens to animals that don't mate with their own? What happens to their species? What's up? Big shout outs to my members only in the building. Thank you guys for engaging today. My Body and Soul TV is also promoting you to support the stream. I agree. Thank you so much. Cash App, Super Chats, PayPal, shop at theafricansuperstar.com. Any of that will be wonderful. I appreciate it. All my contact details are in the chat room, and they're also scrolling across the screen. So big shout out to My Body and Soul TV. All right. Tito had it first. It's a very simple answer. What happens to animals that fail to produce together? Extinction. This is also what self-preservation is about. Okay, like I talked about, there's a reason why very prominent people of the past, royalty and all that stuff, was very strategic about who their children mated with or who they mated with. It was because of self-preservation. They want to make sure that their families are alive, for the next king or for the next dynasty or for whatever. They want to make sure they have an heir to the throne. They want to make sure they have, someone to inherit their estate or take over the business. We don't get it. We don't get it. Because a lot of you want to share the wealth that you don't even have. You're ready to share with people when you're not in position to share. You see, you've got to become cohesive first before you move into that category. What's up to Cam? I see you there. Big shout out to the family. Thank you for being in the building. Mind, body, and soul teeth, they die off. That's right. Some of you guys might have been to museums before to see the dinosaurs. Okay, you see the fossils, and they say, well, this mammoth, is however many hundreds, thousands year old. This elephant is in a rare elephant or whatever they say when they're not quite extinct but almost extinct. They'll be like, oh, it's going into extinction. There's only 2 or 3 of these elephants left. There's only one of this kind of panda. Blah blah blah. Guess what? And this is the key. What you need to be teaching your kids. It needs to start right at home when they're young. They need to understand that 1 + 1 = 2. Okay? And don't give them no fancy equation. Make it clear. Make it plain, as they say in the church. Make it plain, Pastor. Make it plain. Okay? Because it's not rocket science. And you guys do a disservice to our young people by not telling them the harsh truths because you don't want to be, not politically correct and you don't want to be offensive and stuff when it's the freaking truth. Look at the state of our community. We don't want to have the real conversations. We don't want to have the conversations. Is that what people are telling me? How are these things supposed to be rectified if we don't be real about it and we don't take strategic steps to change it? I mean, honestly. Big shout out to the family. All right. I think I didn't talk to them today. This was what was on my mind because, and the irony is these people that are fading themselves out, they actually think that they're doing something good. They're proud of themselves. That Nigerian man with those mixed race kids that didn't look anything like him, he just was showing them off. He was the proud papa, diluting his family lines. Looking at how he's just, the next generation of his lineage. So proud. And it's not even an extension of him. Doesn't even resemble him. Be smart, guys. Don't be a dummy. Understand 1 + 1 = 2. Not any other stupid equation that they try to tell you. It's very simple. Self-preservation is not a crime. It's the way to survive in the future. That's it. Survival of the fittest. If you're not fit, you won't survive. You won't make it. Now, survival is a conscious choice that you have to decide. You know what? I'm ready to embark on this journey. Okay? I'm ready to do XYZ. I'm ready to pursue whatever. It's got to be a conscious choice. If you're one of those, let's see what happens, you're not fit. Because basically what happens is when the crisis comes, you're not fit to survive. You haven't even considered what you would do or if you want to survive or if you're going to survive. So when the difficult situations come, guess what? You're not equipped. And that's just the truth. Big shout outs. Fitzroy's talking about the diaspora. It's real. It's real. I mean, if you just look at the state of the community, relations of our people in the community, people don't want to have these conversations because it's offensive. But I'm going to have this conversation because it's real. Certain lifestyles, certain behavior, it's not going to perpetuate your family lines. and your family lines is synonymous with self-preservation. That's all. That's it. That's just it, it's just finite. Don't get mad with me. All this is relative to nature. I give you an example today about what happens to animals. We're not really that far off of animals, really. And a lot of people even live like animals and look like animals and conduct themselves like animals. So what happens to animals? Hey, we can analyze the species that rock with their own, huh? The species that procreate with their own, that operate in tight-knit communities, they have survived to live throughout time. Animals such as lions, whales, and all the fish, and all the birds and all that stuff, the eagle and stuff like that. You don't see an eagle hooking up with a pigeon because the eagle feels bad, about the pigeon situation. You know what I'm saying? You don't see the killer whale hooking up with a goldfish like, man, I'm sorry you're in captivity. Everybody want to have you as a pet. You know what I'm saying? I'm so big that they can't really get me. I'm out here in this ocean. They can't even find me. I can swim so deep. Why do we feel sorry for lesser species? Why do we feel sorry for them? Why do we want to give them our precious melanin? Why do we want to give them access to everything that's the bomb about us? Why? Something's wrong with you. It's self-esteem. You think you're inferior, so you think connecting with someone else in fear, 1 + 1 = 2. And there's a lot of that going on in 2021, but that's a different topic. The low self-esteem thing is a different topic. Big shout outs to the family. Thank you so much for coming in today. I see y'all was here. A lot of the family was here. Big shout outs to my members only members, represented by the circle next to their name. Also, big shout outs to the customers of the AfricanSuperStar.com. Please head over and check out my new collection. It's super fire. A lot of you guys have been making comments in the community tab. Go ahead and copy your piece today. Custom for you. Be the first one on your block. Okay? Until we meet again, stay black and true. If you ain't black, just stay true. And also big shout outs to B Hollis. I saw him just get in there. Okay.